It is the year 1929. The United States is the richest, most powerful nation on earth. The stock market is a roaring engine of wealth that seems like it will never stop. They called it the Roaring Twenties, a decade of endless parties, easy money, and a belief that the laws of gravity no longer applied to the economy. Sound familiar? Today, we look back at them and think they were naive. We think we are smarter. We think our modern financial system is bulletproof. But they had experts too. They had brilliant economists who told them the good times would last forever, right up until the moment they didn't. What they didn't know, what they couldn't see, was that they were standing on the edge of a cliff, and the ground was about to give way. This is not just a history lesson. This is a warning. The story of the Great Depression is the blueprint of how a superpower commits financial suicide. In the next 20 minutes, we will walk through the ashes of that American dream. We will see how the greatest boom in history turned into the greatest bust. And we will explore the uncomfortable parallels facing us today. To understand the crash, you have to understand the party that came before it. The 1920s was a decade of unprecedented innovation. The automobile, the radio, electricity in every home. America was inventing the modern world. Productivity was skyrocketing. But the engine of this new economy wasn't just technology. It was something new. Something addictive. Credit. Buy now, pay later became the national motto. For the first time in history, the average American could have it all without having the money to pay for it. The private debt bubble began to inflate to historic levels. And nowhere was this more visible than in the stock market. Investing wasn't just for the rich anymore. Everyone from the barber to the shoeshine boy was buying stocks. They were buying on margin. You could buy $100 worth of stock with just $10 of your own money. The rest was borrowed. It was leverage on a massive scale. As long as stock prices kept going up, everyone got rich on paper. The balloon kept rising. The optimism was intoxicating. By 1929, the stock market was no longer reflecting reality. It had become a casino, a national delusion of endless wealth. The Federal Reserve saw the danger. They tried to gently tap the brakes by raising interest rates, but it was too little, too late. The beast of speculation was out of control. The first tremor came on October 24th, Black Thursday. The market dipped, panic flared. But the big banks stepped in, bought stocks, and stabilized the market for the weekend. The calm didn't last. By Monday, the fear was spreading like a virus. The margin calls were coming due, and investors didn't have the cash to cover them. Then came Black Monday and Black Tuesday, October 28th and 29th. The market entered freefall. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped over 12% on Monday and another 12% on Tuesday. Everyone was selling. No one was buying. The ticker tape fell hours behind the actual trades. No one knew how much money they were losing in real time. Fortunes that took generations to build vanished in minutes. The resulting despair was absolute, leading to a tragic wave of personal devastation across the financial district. By mid-November, the market had lost $30 billion in value. That was more than the entire cost of World War I to the United States. The bubble hadn't just burst, it had evaporated. The party was over, and the hangover was about to begin. The crash was just the catalyst. The real nightmare was the slow, agonizing descent into the abyss that followed. The financial crisis triggered a collapse in the real economy. People panicked. They ran to banks to withdraw their savings, but the banks didn't have the cash. They had lent it to speculators who were now bankrupt. The result was a systemic failure. Over 9,000 banks failed during the 1930s. Since there was no FDIC insurance yet, when a bank failed, the life savings of ordinary families disappeared forever. With no credit system, businesses couldn't operate, factories closed. America's economic output was cut almost in half, plummeting from $104 billion in 1929 to just $56 billion by 1933. The human cost was staggering. The unemployment rate skyrocketed from around 3% before the crash, peaking at nearly 25% in 1933. 1 in 4 workers had no job. Hooverville sprung up across the nation, and then nature turned against America. A catastrophic drought struck the Great Plains. The Dust Bowl decimated the agricultural heartland. Farmers, already crushed by falling crop prices, lost everything. A mass migration fled west looking for work that didn't exist. Hunger became a reality in what was the richest nation on earth. The American dream had become a daily fight for survival. Why did it get so bad? The initial government response was paralyzed by ideology. President Hoover feared government intervention would destroy American self-reliance. The Federal Reserve also made catastrophic errors. Instead of providing liquidity to starving banks, they allowed the money supply to contract sharply. They prioritized defending the gold standard over saving the economy. Congress made it worse by passing the Smoot-Hawley Tariff in 1930, sparking a global trade war that deepened the Depression worldwide. In 1932, a desperate nation elected Franklin D. Roosevelt, who promised a New Deal. FDR launched an unprecedented wave of government programs. The government became the employer of last resort, putting millions to work building the nation's infrastructure. He created Social Security and the FDIC to ensure bank deposits, fundamentally changing the relationship between the American government and its citizens to restore confidence. The New Deal provided essential relief and saved American democracy from radicalism. But economists still debate its effectiveness at ending the Depression. Unemployment remained stubbornly high throughout the decade. Ultimately, it took the massive, tragic stimulus of World War II to fully mobilize the economy and pull America completely out of the Depression. The Great Depression is not just ancient history, it is a mirror, and when we look into it today, the reflections are unsettling. Many financial analysts argue we are seeing shadows of the Roaring Twenties again. Our national debt has recently surpassed $35 trillion, levels previously unimaginable in peacetime. Our modern economy is far more interconnected and perhaps more fragile than in 1929. A crisis in one sector can instantly become a global contagion. Experts are again warning of asset bubbles fueled by easy money. But just like in 1929, the music keeps playing. History does not repeat itself perfectly, but it often rhymes. The next major downturn won't look exactly like 1929, but the root causes, excessive leverage and greed, remain the same. The question is not if another cycle will end. The question is, will you be prepared when it does? Study history, understand the cycles, protect your legacy. This is the Legacy Hustle. Subscribe to survive the shift.